People, welcome to Newspaper Breakdown, 14th for the 12th. Hope we are all got a lot of news stuff on refugees will be sprinkled through as we're going along. The Home Office will start with. The Home Office has resumed its hostile environment checks on 70 million banks and building society accounts. This was, of course, suspended in 2018 after the Windrush scandal. I mean, you need something worse than scandal for how everyone was treated over that. But it was suspended over fears of people wrongly identified as illegal migrants, and they were being denied bank accounts. But it's been a couple of years now. Let's all forget about it and do the exact same thing again, so people get fucked again. On a quarterly basis, and when someone opens a new bank account, they will be checked against the Home Office's database of illegal migrants. So your bank account will be checked quarterly by the government. I never trust governments. I'm not sure if that's come across yet. I don't trust people. I don't think there's a constant conspiracy. What I do think is that people are greedy, and I do not see it stopping there. We will find out, I reckon, in the next 4 years that the Home Office is checking our bank accounts against other things as well. You have a look, and probably against fucking Prevent and something like that, removing more of our fucking freedoms, keeping a closer eye on us. Yesterday, Grant Shapps, the man of many names, was in front of a select committee, and they were talking about the growth in the country. And this year we've got high growth, fast growth, faster than the G7. There's always an argument that if you go from small to big, you're going to get a higher. Well, if you go down and then up, it's going to seem bigger. But there's a lot of talk about GDP growth. This isn't part of news. It's just something I think is important. What we should be looking at instead of GDP growth, which isn't, I mean, it's just a fucking number. It means nothing really, is things like income inequality and GDP per capita. Because although we see rises in wages and stuff, what we've seen is a massive rise in billionaires and the amount of money that they've got. And so the difference between top and bottom is widening. And that's what you should be looking at, and not just GDP growth, which is absolute meaningless if real term wages, costs of living, everything else is going down. Your GDP can fucking fly through the roof, but if you've still got mass poverty, if you've still got a difference in income inequality, and that's rising, GDP per capita isn't fucking going up, it doesn't mean anything. Next piece of news is on Meta, which is the company that that owns Facebook. They did that whole change because it was Facebook, and then they started Meta because they thought if we create a company called Meta that owns Facebook, then Meta will be everywhere and everyone will stop looking at us automatically as Facebook and thinking us all of a pile of shit. Hasn't worked, of course. But Meta are currently being sued in Ethiopia over a legal case alleging that Facebook algorithms helped fuel the viral spread of hate and violence during the Ethiopian civil wars. Those bringing the case forward are looking for a £1.6 billion fund for victims of hate on Facebook and changes to the algorithm. Of course, Meta Meta have said that their usual bluff, we're fantastic, we actually care about everyone, we work so hard, so there's no hate or anything like that. Though throughout history, since Facebook has started, you look at their involvement or what they've allowed to happen in many different countries in the world that have caused violence. Ethiopia is just the latest, quite frankly. You've had hundreds of thousands have died in the conflict between the Ethiopian government and forces in the Tigray region, with 400,000 others living in famine-like conditions. Last month there was a surprise peace deal, but recently there's been an upsurge in ethnically motivated killings between the Amhara and Oromo-speaking communities. This Meta, Facebook, whatever you want to fucking call them, one of the major issues that they have had for years is the inability to do anything in a non-English speaking way. So they tend to use AI to look for hate speech if it's not in English, which doesn't fucking work. And so there have been murders, assassinations based on violence and hate that has been spread on Facebook. And this is why they're being sued. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this is the start of especially non-English speaking countries actually getting some say and holding Facebook to account. That would be happy. That would be happy. We've got the Dixon Marchbank Primary in Bradford, which will be offering every pupil free school lunches for the rest of the year, the rest of the school year, after receiving almost £50,000 in donations. After families at the school told BBC News last month that due to raising bills, the school was cutting back on children's hot lunches. Good news story. Shows the bloody kindness of people, doesn't it? Kindness. Kindness of people. Now, I do have a problem with this story. It's how PR is so important. Because we have seen news constantly of schools being in trouble, not having enough money. We have seen free school meals or problems with that, the government not doing anything with that. This school gets attention, gets to go on BBC News and be honest. And then the kindness of people mean that they're actually able to feed children. Only because of PR. We see it every day with in our newspapers, on our news, on TV. If someone is lucky enough to get PR for their story, there's a chance for them being helped. That is not how society should be. Society should not only help someone because there's attention on them. Yet this is where we are. It's a lovely story, showing the bloody kindness of people. Well done us. But society cannot work like that. It cannot function in that way. It cannot be that if you get enough fucking likes, you get helped. You can't function in that medium. So although it's a lovely story, it continues to show that we as a society are fucked. Absolutely fucked. We've had this morning 4 people dead, at least, after a boat capsized trying to cross the channel. It's tragic. It was a tragic. What's going to add to the tragedy is how the deaths will start be using as an excuse to push more hate and attempt to bring in more draconian laws, because that's what happens when a vulnerable refugee dies. They are not even allowed to call before our government starts using their bloated corpses as an excuse to bring in more hate. Yesterday, Sunak promised to bring in new laws to tackle illegal immigration, saying anyone coming into the UK illegally will not be allowed to stay. It's important to remember, of course, that owing to the Nationality and Borders Bill, there are no legal routes. There are legal routes for some fucking Afghanis, Ukrainians and people from Hong Kong. Everyone else, no. There is no fucking legal route. And the only way you can claim asylum, the only way you can claim asylum is by stepping foot in the UK, which you can't do because it's illegal to do. So this whole fucking thing is bullshit as it is. New legislation is to be brought in early next year. May is against the plan. May does not think that this is good for, this will help stop modern slavery. Theresa May, the hostile environment creator, one of the worst home secretaries we've had. The only ones who are worse is everyone who's fucking followed her. Because they've all looked at May now as some little bitch boy unable to fucking do what's needed to be done to be cruel enough. But May, other Tories have been telling Sunak that they should just ignore international law and deport refugees anyway. Always important to remember that this is what they want to do to you. See how they treat the most vulnerable? That's how they want to treat you. That's it's always important, and this is with humans as a whole. See how they treat the most vulnerable, the people who do not have all of the backing that we do with regards to laws and rights. Because if they treat them badly, they're going to treat you badly once they remove those fucking rights from you. And they want to remove human rights. We are also going to be restarting flights to Rwanda. There's a lot to say on how stupid that idea is. All you have to do is look at Israel trying it in 2014 and see how badly that failed. And you think, well, we're going to be more competent, and the rest. And the fucking rest. Final news story. Ministers have been accused of writing a blank cheque for Boris Johnson's legal bills after it emerged that taxpayer-funded support was being extended to help defend Boris Johnson against claims he misled Parliament over Partygate. Instead of taxpayer-funded, you are paying for Boris Johnson's defence for some fucking reason. Cabinet Office intends to renew a contract with law firm Peters and Peters, stupid name, which has been helping Boris Johnson and the government to attack the investigation by the Privileges Committee. Us collectively, have already paid £130,000 to them for a 4-month contract since August. We are paying for Boris Johnson's defence, for misleading Parliament, for lying to Parliament. 150,000+ deaths during that time, over 250,000 deaths or 200,000 deaths plus from COVID at the moment. The government are happy. They are happy with the dead. You kept on hearing them and they still say it. Made every decision right. We are proud of what we achieved. We didn't get anything wrong. 150,000+ dead, and they are proud. They are proud of how many dead there are. There is nothing that will change my mind to suggest that these people are subhuman. Not a punchline, I make you right, but Christ on a bike. Don't be violent is how I'd end this after that particular bit of... Don't want to be accused of spreading violence towards MPs, even if I do believe that a lot of them are actually evil, or so stupid and so uncaring that it's difficult to see between evil and what they are. But as I say, don't be violent. That would be there's no violence begets violence, doesn't it? So there isn't going to be, well, I don't think there's going to be one tomorrow, because I'm in, I have to be up early to be in Northern Ireland for the day tomorrow, and I don't think I'm going to have the time to record and put this up. So if not, then I will see you Friday. Have a good one.